Budapest, a city of river lights, gilded bridges, and history that never sleeps. Once the site of a broken promise, now in the running to host the deadliest handshake of our age. Volodymyr Zelensky versus Vladimir Putin. Not Geneva, not Vienna, not Istanbul, Budapest. The city where Ukraine once gave up its nuclear shield for guarantees that were shattered when Russia stormed in. Ironical, isn't it? 3 decades later, the irony is unbearable. The same city is back, center stage, for a summit that could shape war or peace. Coincidence, symbolism, or trap? Why Budapest, of all cities, for this fateful meeting? We explain. Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. The war rages on, towns flattened, families displaced, economies strained across continents, yet no peace. Multiple talks, unilateral ones but nonetheless. Minsk, Istanbul, Geneva, all ended in smoke. Now Washington is pressing harder. Donald Trump has already staged warm-up acts. Zelensky in Washington, D.C., Putin in Alaska. He wants the grand finale, both men in the same room, same city. Enter Viktor Orban, Hungary's power broker prime minister, dangling Budapest as the stage. For Putin, it's safe, no ICC handcuffs waiting. For Trump, it's friendly turf. For Zelensky, it's uncomfortable but hard to reject. But given Budapest's haunted history, is this really neutral ground or a loaded trap? In 2019, they sat across each other in Paris, Zelensky and Putin. The young comedian turned president facing the former KGB man. It was tense, stiff, and inconclusive. There was no handshake that sealed peace, just a cold table, empty promises, and the silent knowledge that war always was the real answer. Fast forward to 2025, a very different room is being set. Not Paris, not Geneva, not Istanbul, and certainly not Vienna. Budapest. Yes, Budapest, the city that once gave Ukraine a promise of security in exchange for giving up its nukes. And now, Budapest again, but this time not for signatures of hope, this time for a spectacle of power. Donald Trump is the ringmaster. He's already met Zelensky in Washington. He's already shaken hands with Putin in Anchorage, Alaska. Now he wants both of them in the same room, a bilateral or a trilateral. Either way, it's a showdown. A gamble that only Trump could spin as diplomacy, part circus, part theater, part raw negotiation. Budapest isn't just another European capital. It's the city where Ukraine was stripped of its nuclear future. In 1994, Ukraine surrendered the world's third largest nuclear arsenal, thousands of warheads, missiles that could reach Moscow, Washington, even Beijing. In return, Kyiv was promised security. The Budapest Memorandum guaranteed Ukraine's sovereignty, signed by Russia, the United States of America, and the United Kingdom. Fast forward, Crimea seized in 2014.
There was a coup, they started persecuting those who did not accept the coup, and it was indeed a coup. They created a threat to Crimea, which we had to take under our protection. They launched a war in Donbass in 2014 with the use of aircraft and artillery against civilians. This is when it all started. There's a video of aircraft attacking Donetsk from above. They launched a large-scale military operation, then another one. When they failed, they started to prepare the next one. All this against the background of military development of this territory and opening of NATO's doors. How could we not express concern over what was happening? From our side, this would have been a culpable negligence. That's what it would have been. It's just that the US political leadership pushed us to the line we could not cross, because doing so could have ruined Russia itself.
Full-scale invasion in 2022. Russia tore the memorandum to shreds. The guarantees were empty words. Now talks may circle back to Budapest. The irony cuts deep. Can the city of betrayal really host the language of peace? Every conflict has its stage. Geneva, classic, safe, neutral. But Geneva reeks of Western oversight, too close to NATO's orbit for Moscow's taste. Vienna, the Cold War's favorite meeting place, but neutrality is no longer believable to Moscow. Istanbul, it once held promise. Delegations drafted documents there in 2022. But trust died with the failure of those talks, and the city became a symbol of dashed hope. Budapest steps in. Hungary left the ICC. No risk of Putin being detained. Orban keeps doors open to Moscow and Kiev. For Trump, it's perfect optics. For Zelensky, it's bitter but unavoidable. Viktor Orban thrives on contradiction. He rails against Brussels yet enjoys EU money. He criticizes NATO yet stays under its shield. He shakes Putin's hand yet negotiates with Zelensky. Orban's skill is survival and turning survival into leverage. Offering Budapest as host is not charity, it's strategy. Orban wants to transform himself from Europe's outcast into its indispensable statesman.
Többen érveltek az európai egység mellett, talán Weber képviselő úr is. Mi a Unity in Diversity hívei vagyunk. Sosem fogunk beletörődni abba, hogy az európai egység azt jelentse, hogy ők ránk parancsolnak, hogy fogjuk be a szánkat, ha valami nem tetszik. Az európai egység nem azt jelenti, hogy mindenkinek be kell fogni a száját, aki nem ért egyet a többséggel vagy a bizottság elnökasszonyával. Magyarországon a parlamentben van kétharmados többsége a kormányzó pártnak. De soha nem fordulhatott volna elő az, amit önök műveltek. Az, amit önök tettek. Magyarországon hiába van kétharmada a kormánypárti képviselőknek, az ellenzék, minden pártja mindig megkapta azokat a bizottsági pozíciókat, amik megilletik őket. De önök megfosztották a patriótákat ettől is. Önök akarnak bennünket kioktatni demokráciáról. Ez egy képtelenség.
Donald Trump doesn't hide his hunger for spectacle. He's already checked off Act 1, Zelensky in Washington, Act 2, Putin in Alaska. But the show isn't complete without Act 3 or maybe Act 4, when both leaders meet face to face and then there could be a trilateral. Budapest works because it offers Trump everything. An ally in Orban, a city Russia accepts, a location Zelensky can't refuse without looking obstinate. Trump sees Budapest not as neutral ground but as theatre. This could first be a bilateral, but should it be a trilateral, picture Trump striding into Budapest's parliament building, two enemies on either side. He claims the spotlight. He brands himself as peacemaker. He eyes history and maybe a Nobel. Budapest for Trump is Statecraft made flesh. For Zelensky, Budapest is personal pain. The 1994 memorandum is a wound carved into Ukraine's history. Ukraine gave up its nuclear shield. What did it get? Tanks in its cities, missiles on its homes, mass graves in its soil. Budapest is a reminder, but it could also be a warning. Betray us again and Europe itself pays. Practicality tips the scales. Budapest is central, connected and safe. Hungary guarantees secure venues, airspace lockdown and military protection for both delegations. For Putin, travel is tricky. Russian planes are banned from most EU skies, but Hungary can coordinate safe passage via Turkey and Balkan routes.
First, we are shutting down the EU airspace for Russians. We're proposing a prohibition on all Russian-owned, Russian-registered and Russian-controlled aircraft. These aircraft will no more be able to land in, take off, or overfly the territory of the European Union. This will apply to any plane, owned, chartered, or otherwise controlled by a Russian legal or natural person. So let me be very clear. Our airspace will be closed to every Russian plane, and that includes the private jets of oligarchs too.
For Zelensky, it's not ideal. Hungary has often blocked aid and dragged its feet on sanctions. But compared to Moscow or Geneva, it's the lesser evil. Budapest offers a European setting without Western overload, a compromise, not comfortable but workable. In diplomacy, least bad often wins. Not everyone buys the Budapest pitch. Poland, Ukraine's loudest backer, is alarmed. Another Budapest sounds like another betrayal. Memories of 1994 still burn. France frowns too. Macron prefers Geneva, neutral ground without Orban's shadow. Even inside Ukraine, doubts stir. Orban has blocked aid, slowed sanctions, and cozied up to Putin. Can Ukraine risk it? Can Zelensky sit under Orban's roof and still claim independence? The skepticism is real. To some, Budapest looks less like neutral ground and more like Moscow's chosen field. A peace summit? Yes, but on Russia's terms. Picture the setup. Orban provides the house. Trump insists on the spotlight. Putin plays for time. Zelensky fights for survival. Budapest isn't neutral. It's a chessboard. Orban is the host king. Trump the showman queen. Putin the calculating bishop. Zelensky the embattled knight. Every move matters. Every misstep could mean collapse. This isn't just about Ukraine. It's about Europe's future. If Budapest succeeds, the war's tide may shift. If it fails, it adds another scar and the bombs keep falling. Budapest is a paradox, a city of betrayal and a city of potential redemption. For some, returning there is folly. History already judged Budapest as the site of promises broken. Why repeat it? For others, it's poetic justice. If betrayal began in Budapest, then let justice also begin there. Let the city redeem itself. That's the trap. Budapest is soaked in meaning, too much meaning. The risk is that symbolism overshadows substance and history repeats itself, not as tragedy, but as farce. Three futures stand before Budapest: breakthrough, ceasefire lines agreed, humanitarian aid allowed, prisoners exchanged, history rewritten. Budapest not as betrayal, but as rebirth. Stalemate, talks, collapse. Leaders walk out. Budapest joins Minsk and Istanbul in the graveyard of failed diplomacy. For Orban, the calculus is simple. Budapest hosting equals Budapest mattering. He is no longer the EU's problem child, but EU's power broker. Whether the talks succeed or fail, Orban wins by hosting them. He inserts himself into history's script.
Nekünk van egy ajánlatunk az ukránok számára, hiszen mi az ukránokat nem tekintjük ellenségnek. Lehet, hogy ők annak tekintenek bennünket, de mi nem tekintjük őket annak. És mi azt gondoljuk, hogy egy rendezett együttműködés kell Ukrajna meg az Európai Unió között. Egy észszerűen és jól elrendezett együttműködés, amely nem jelent ugyanakkor háborús kockázatot az Unió számára. Tehát tagságról szó sem lehet, az ugyanis visszavonhatatlan. Tehát egyszer fölvettük, akkor a sorsodat is vállaltuk. És Ukrajna sorsa ma az, hogy Oroszországgal szomszédos ütköző állam.
That's his gamble. Budapest as leverage, Orban as indispensable. For Trump, Budapest is theater with global stakes. If he pulls off even a symbolic handshake, he declares victory. If talks fail, he still owns the stage. In his world, attention equals success. For Trump, Budapest isn't about peace, it's about narrative and a Nobel Peace Prize. About branding himself the dealmaker who did what others couldn't. For Zelensky, Budapest is the hardest seat of all. Accept it and he risks criticism at home. Reject it and he looks like the obstacle to peace. Zelensky has no good options, only less bad ones. That's the cruelty of war diplomacy. For Putin, Budapest is useful. Safe from ICC handcuffs, hosted by a friendly EU capital, war fatigue has set in on both sides. Budapest offers Putin an opportunity to end the war. That's why he hasn't said no. Budapest's dangerous destiny is the conclusion here. Budapest isn't just geography, it's theatre, history, betrayal, and ambition rolled all into one. For Orban, it's legacy. For Trump, it's spectacle. For Putin, it's survival. For Zelensky, it's risk. Budapest could redeem itself or damn itself further. It could be the city of fragile peace or the city of betrayal repeated. The choice of Budapest isn't coincidence, it's a gamble that forces the world to ask, will the city finally deliver peace or script another tragedy for history's books? Thank you for watching Statecraft.